Hey guys, Patryk here. Thank you so much for stopping by my first video. I decided to start off my channel with a 3D Studio S Max introduction tutorial videos. So yes, I'm gonna be doing tutorial videos for 3D Studio S Max, and first off, introduction to the actual software, and let me get going with opening up Autodesk 3D Studio Max 2014. This is a student edition, which you can get yourself if you are able to get one, being a student of course. At start off, you'll get sort of this screen. You can click continue to actually get going with the software. There'll be a couple more screens that you probably might have go through if you just install the software, but you can just easily turn them off. So this is the basic UI of the software, and let me get quickly through it. So in the middle, we've got your quad 4, which is our 4 main viewports. In order to navigate inside those, you use your middle mouse button, you click it in, and as you move your mouse around, well, once your middle mouse button is clicked in, you can just move around. To zoom in and out, you use mouse wheel in and out, and to rotate, you hold your middle mouse button in and Alt on the keyboard, like this. Alright, so there is also sort of like a little golden border around the active window. So if you're not sure which window is active for you, if you just start from 3D Studio Max, then it's the one with golden, sort of like a yellow brownish border around it. To make the window bigger, you can just select the window. So say for example, in this way, I'm going to use my perspective view. I'm going to click this button over here, which is my maximize viewport toggle, or you can just do it easily with Alt+W on the keyboard. Now guys, I believe that keybinds and shortcuts like that are very important, no matter what sort of programming or editing software you're going for. Keybinds are very important. So this is something that I'm putting a lot of sort of importance to. So if you'll be following with my videos, you will see me using a lot of keybinds, which is kind of crucial for sort of like a good workflow and fast workflow of the software. So instead of just clicking buttons, you've got your keybinds. It's just much easier for everyone, for me and you guys. Explaining the quad 4, obviously 4 views, and each of them represent different views. So this is your perspective. This is how you actually can see your model 360 degrees and up, down, whatever, and where you're gonna see all your materials applied, lights whatsoever, animation running. And the rest 3 views are basically your wireframe views by default, but you can also set them to whatever you want by using this little menu on the top left corner of each viewport. So you can set them to, if you click on a wireframe, you can set them to realistic, shaded, constant colors, hidden lines, bounding boxes whatsoever. You can do, in clicking on front, you choose the sort of view. So you can be front, bottom, perspective, orthographic, it's completely up to you. And plus gives you sort of options like configure your viewports, where you can configure your statistics, for instance, and those will give you information about your model as you go along by hitting number 7 on your keyboard. You see this little box appears on the active viewport that number 7 was clicked in. Alright guys, to the rest of the UI, probably the biggest part is on the bottom, where you've got your animation keyframes set. You can set keyframes, you can move through animation, you can extend it, do whatsoever. Whenever you do animation, this is your main sort of field. You've got your isolate button, your lock button, you've got or your play and rewind and back to, back moving frames. I've got key set keyframe. Basically, this is the button you use if you want to do some sort of a manual automation for your animations. You've got also auto keys, which are places keys as you move items in the time frame. This is your basically like navigation buttons for extra navigations, or for camera usage, or if you don't have a middle mouse button. Alright, so on the right side you've got your sort of like a main tab with all your tabs, and those tabs have buttons, and those buttons have more buttons and drop downs and more tabs. This is basically all you're creating and modifying and editing whatsoever. Everything that you're gonna be using in order to edit or model, you're gonna be using this right sort of a panel. If you guys are working on dual screens, if you have two identical screens, of course, then you know you can also extend it. So yeah, you might want to have 3D Max expanded on both screens, and then you have like you know, you can add yourself like 3 of those lines and work on them like crazy. If you want to do that, feel free to. I'm just gonna leave for most of my videos, I'm just gonna leave it as it is right here. I'm going to be going over this right panel in my next tutorial, I believe, where I'm gonna be talking about main modeling, or modeling and editing, stuff like that. But in this video, I'm just gonna go over the top UI, and then we're gonna go into creating some sort of basic models. On the top, you've got your basic menu, and you've got your new, open, save, back, you know, undo, redo, stuff like that. You've got your workspace, so if you feel like configuring your workspace, you can do so. You can save them in this drop-down menu. I don't usually do that because I like the workspace as this. I have already removed the top and side panels from mine. So this is something you're gonna probably see whenever you're gonna get Macs. You're gonna have a couple docks. So the first one is, I believe this is how, if it loads up for me. Oh, it didn't. There we go. This is how Max comes in default. You've got this top graphite modeling tools and your viewport tabs, but I just removed them both because I never use them, and just gives me more sort of a space for my work. You also have link, so getting over here, it's like a main action bar in which you have most common used applications selected by Macs. I believe you can actually add to them. I never did so because I use shortcuts on my keyboard, which is just much easier. You've got your linking, which basically can make you can link two objects together, so when you animate them, one object will follow another. You can link, you can break those links using the second button, and the third one is your space warps linking. So whenever you make an animation and you would like to hook this animation up with some sort of a force, such as gravity or drag whatsoever, you do this with this link over there. You've got your select by object, which allows you to, you know, just move your mouse and select it just by clicking objects or dragging objects like that, just by holding your left mouse button. You've got your select by name, so if you guys have many more models and you name them correctly, you'll find a list of all the objects and models you've got in here. You've got your rectangular selection region, so you can change this sort of how you're gonna select your item. So if I move it to circular and I just drag it from the middle, everything inside of the radius of this circle will get selected, but I'm using it mostly for square or rectangular. It's much easier. You've got your move, rotate and scale, which on your keyboard are W for move, E for rotate and R for scale. So they're very nicely placed. If you are if you're right-handed, then your right hand's going to be on the mouse, but left hand on the left side of the keyboard, you know, WASD sort of keys like that, you're probably gonna get used to those. So WER very nicely set over here to access those options pretty quickly. Then the main ones after that is probably snaps, I would say. You've got the snap toggle and snap angle. Basically the snap toggle is activated by a S key on the keyboard, and that basically snaps all your items to the grid, while A key activates angle snaps, and that snaps the rotation of your object according to the value selected inside of the angle snaps toggle. So on the default, Max gives you 5 degrees angle, so that's pretty cool. It helps a lot in animation, guys, trust me. The next action bars over here, you've got mirror, align. So basically those are to just basically move around your models as you see fit. If you see a model and you would like to rotate it the other way and make sure it looks like a rotation or mirror of the first model, then you can do that with here. You can align it to axes or grids You've got manage layers. So if you guys are familiar with Photoshop, or say for example After Effects, you work on layers in those softwares. Yes, you can work on layers in this software too, but on the default is basically a button that I have to click in order to access layers, which is, I think, very decent to have something like that, because instead of just having like a tab filled with layers, you know, just easily accessible by a button. As you can see here, my graphite modeling tools are disabled, so this is another button that you can access them. I've got your curve editor and a schematic editor. This is for more sort of advanced animation. I use it a lot when it comes to my particle systems. You've got material editor, which can be accessed with MQ on a keyboard. By default, Max gives you this sort of a slate editor, which is basically made out of visual textures and connecting nodes together. I'm going to be getting over both slate and compact material editor later on in the videos. Then you also have got your render. Last buttons are render buttons, render action buttons. So you've got the first one is accessible by clicking F10 on the keyboard, and it's basically your render setup, where you can set up any sort of options that you can imagine having during your rendering, such as the resolution, the camera angles, the camera lenses, your renderers. You can make it, you know, you can use this menu to assign render farms together. You can make it so it sends you an email whenever the render is finished. Quite convenient if you're using remote control. The next button is a render frame window. Sorry, it shows you a window of a previous render before you do a current render. So you can actually open it up, and whenever you make more models, you can just keep on saving them, and therefore you can see like a progress if you don't want to save those previous renders up on your screen on your computer. And then the final button is a render production, which renders whatever video is active, and you access it by clicking F9 on the keyboard. Obviously, you know, I'm going to be going over basic rendering in the next videos as well. So guys, just because I did this in like 12 minutes, pretty fast for basic UI and keybinds. Guys, remember, keybinds are very important. It's basically, I'm just going to show you how basic modeling looks like. So if we take a box, for instance, you just click on a box, and you just basically drag it from one square to another. So you basically drag it on both axes, so you assign width and length of whatever you're modeling, and then you assign in a height of it. Unless you come with a sphere, you just basically a single drag, and this is your basic model. By clicking J and F4 on the keyboard, one after another, or in another combinations you can do J and F4 or F4 and J. You're removing something called selection brackets, which are very annoying, and you're enabling the edged faces, so you can actually see the polygons inside of your model. If we would now click 7 on the keyboard to bring out our statistics, as I talked about previously in this video, we see that a total of this scene is 972 triangles, which basically is like 400 polygons, I believe, because two triangles is one polygon. But mainly, if you're going to be producing models for like sort of engines like Unreal or whatsoever, you'll be looking at triangle count instead of polygon count. If you're just modeling for yourself, you can, yes, say you polygon count. It's important for you. Hitting G on the keyboard removes the grid, so later on, guys, if you're making something bigger like a massive scene and you don't want this grid to be there for you, just hit G and it works on every single viewport, which is really handy at some times. Just without getting too complicated into it, you've also got like cylinders, you've got your torus, donut, you've got your torus knot later on, and in another tabs. No, the most standard, I think, model that everybody uses at start in 3D Studio Max, it's obviously a teapot. Yeah, it looks like that. Pretty nice teapot. And what I just did there is isolate the model. So if you've got model selected, there we go. if you got a model selected, you can click on this little icon over here, which is isolate model, or you can hold Alt and Q on your keyboard. That also isolates it pretty nicely and quickly. Sorry for that. Cool. Obviously you've got stuff like plane, which basically adds like a ground for your models. It's basically a one-faced sort of a plane, so if we render anything out in this view, if we would render it out in this view, we would see, you know, your teapot, your sphere, your box, your donut or torus, and your cylinder. But if we would render out in this view, we would only see the bottom of these models, but not the actual plane, because plane is only one-sided. I'll be talking to you guys later on how to assign planers to be dual-sided and how to use them to blueprints whatsoever. So just stay tuned for that. Go a nice cone, and let me make a geosphere, which is weird. It's a sphere made of triangles. Can be useful for some of you required work products. So there we go. A planer filled with random models. Well, guys, thank you so much for staying up for this video. I believe this basically sorts out very quickly the basics of 3D Studios Max UI and key shortcuts. As always, guys, thanks for stopping by. Subscribe, like or dislike if you like or don't like the video. Leave a comment too, so I know what should I do next, and you know what basically you think about it. I care about my like and dislike ratios, so I will try to improve my videos as I go along. Stay tuned for the next video, in which I'll be giving you some sort of basic modeling video. We'll probably make our first modeling job ever, which is a spaceships out of a box. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Cheers for watching.